Well, welcome back, and we're going to continue in our flower painting. I love painting flowers. I just think it's a great way to reflect the glory of God in small things. And so we're going to continue on. We've already done the leaves and the base coat or the local color for the flowers. Now we're back and working in ArtRage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the color picker. It's that little dropper tool. And I'm going to go over to my reference photo and then kind of get it in there. It's kind of difficult, but there we go. I've got a little darker shade of purple. I could have done that just by hand, but I'm going to go down to what is I've retitled Pure Color. It's actually Wet and Wet is the that you'll see in the ArtRage app itself. And I'm just on top of these petals, just a little darker color. Now we'll eventually come back in and blend this and soften it, but we want to come in with a little darker shade of lavender so that we can get some definition and a little depth there, a little variation so it doesn't just look flat. If I were doing this with regular watercolors, I'd be doing pretty much the same thing. I would have let the paper dry completely, and then I would be coming in and laying in this darker shade. It's called glazing. But once I did that, I would go right to the blending. Now here I'm going to use a brush that I've created. I copied one brush and I'm going to change the settings. The brush that I copied was just water, was the name of it. But what I've done is I've changed some of the settings in it to reflect what I want it to do. So what I've done is I've turned loading almost off, which means that's the amount of paint that's going in. I've adjusted the pressure down and the thinners, and basically it's kind of like if you were working with watercolors, it would involve how much paint you're putting in the brush and how much water you're putting in the brush. So I've adjusted that brush to where I want it to be, and I'm going to go back in. And again, this is very much like what I would do in regular watercolor. I would go in and just with clear water, and not with a lot of it, but just enough to soften the edges of the darker shade that I've put in. Because I don't want it to just be a stark line there. I want that to be soft. I want there to be a little gradation so that we can make those leaves look a little bit more realistic. I'm not going for photorealism here. I rarely ever go quite that detailed, and with watercolor it's especially challenging to try to do that. But I'm just going to go through and soften each one of these petals and try to make that as smooth a transition as possible. And got two more to go here. And then let's get our last one and smooth that little bit out there. And that's going to pretty much wrap it up for the second coat. I'm going to go ahead and soften that center just a touch, but that'll take care of it. Let's move on to the next one.